So what is a macro and a VBA? So macro is nothing but an VBA code which is written in Excel file and stored in .xlsm. So when we develop the macros or when we write the VBA, okay, so in that scenario, like that file will be saved as .xlsm and that we call it as a macro. And VBA is nothing but Visual Basic or applications, which is nothing but VB programming language or scripting from Microsoft. And the macros will work only on top of an Excel. Like we can even extend it, but in majority of the cases it will be in work with the Excel, and it will be lying inside of your .xlsm file. And the VBA is Visual Basic, and you can do all the operations whatever we want to have. Like with using the VB, see, this came from the VB Visual Basic, and the Visual Basic can be even utilized for the UI automation also, and even the programming which is behind UiPath is also VB. Okay, just to start with the macros, go here, go with Excel file, and what we need to do inside your Excel in order to do your macros or develop your macros. So first let us do one thing. Let us take the previous file only. Let us take this employee data, right? This is my data sheet. So here I want to write a macro in the similar way how we are getting here in this, right? So let us go with the same example for now. Okay. And to start with your macros, what we need to do is we need to go to File, Options, Customize ribbon. And here we need to check this developer checkbox enabled and click on OK. And now the developer tab will come here. So till the time, if you see, right, previously we don't have this. Let us go back and turn it off. There is no developer tab. So you can come here, go to the customize ribbon. Inside that, enable this developer. Now we got the developer tab, and here we have record macro option. So what we will do is we'll just click on record macro, and we can say first macro, click on OK. Here we can say click on the cell equal to, and we'll write the method 3, comma, and inside of my double quotes, comma, space, comma, and B2, close the braces, click enter. So we got this, and now we'll click on this and Control S. It is saying that like if you want to save, it will be saved in macro file. Okay, let us click on no. We'll do that later. For now, we are just using it. Click on stop recording. So we recorded the macro, and let us see what actually it generated. Click on macros, and here first macro, click on edit. See here. Let us do one thing. Let us put these two side by side. What it is saying is like first select C2, which we selected, and activate the cell, and we are and dot formula, and the formula we are giving is this one, and we are selecting the range. Well, again we are selecting C3. We are, if you remember, right, I just double clicked on this, so even that action had considered entire column to auto fit, and from C2 range C5 it is filling the data, and we can even change this C5 also. We can get the number of rows and we can pass that as a variable. Okay, and we are saving it, so the saving is not required. Okay, let us do one thing. Let me delete all. Okay, and let us run this. See here, I'm deleting this data and I'm just clicking on the run sub, right? Whatever the macro we have. Click on this, we are getting the data. So let me delete this. And here, let us save this file. Click on no. And I want to save this on a desktop. Here we will be having macro enabled work. Okay. Now this is my macro enabled workbook. Let us go back. Here it is. If you see, right, X. Let me go here in this desktop. View list details. Macro enabled worksheet, and let us see this extension. For that, you show file name extension. See here, .xlsm. Okay, and now let us see how we can execute this macro file. So now in datasheet we don't have anything. Close. Let us keep this open, and let us open the UiPath Studio. So now let us consider, let us select that which is on top of desktop. We selected the .xlsm file. Now we will use execute macro. Okay? And we need to provide the macro name. To get the macro name, we'll go to the developer, macros. First macro, right? Let me close this. Where do I have that macro? Macros. Here it is, the first macro. Edit. We need to copy this name and put it here. Okay. Let me close this. Let me close this. Run this flow now. And let us open whatever we have on the desktop. See here, the macro is got executed and the data is got reflected. And let me do one thing. So whatever the number of rows, right? I don't want to go on fixed from C2 to C5. What I want to go is, I want to go only C4 or whatever it might be. I want to pass it as a parameter. How we can edit this macro? Click on this, edit. I can have, I can say here, macro. So we can just have it like this. I'm saving it, and now we need to pass this last row number. Let us go here. We'll close this. So we now it is accepting a parameter. Let me open this. We go to the macros. What happened? I lost the macro. Not happen. Okay, let me do one thing. Developer record a macro. See what actually happened. Macros. Edit this macro. Here. Last one. Give the C5 volume. We'll see the difference. Here. Close this. Here. Let us see the macro. Oops. It's getting missed out. Let us see. Come on, ping me. See, Word, I'm not pretty sure for this, but it may work because the actual macro developers, right? They will even interact with the other applications also. Even they will do the API calls also. But I never tried it off, and see, as an API developer, we will be having very limited knowledge on top of it. So it might be possible. Here, macro is missing for passing parameters. But this is enabled, right? Even without closing, we are missing. Well, let us do one thing. Hmm. Okay. So this I need to pass. Need to buy val as an integer, right? Let us do one thing. Delete it. Record the macro. Answer. Do we have a macro? Answer. Record a macro. Macro. Yes, I want to exist. Replace the existing. Equal to concat. 2 comma. Of the recording, and inside the macros, we'll go to the edit. Yes, oh, we have a first macro already available in the above as integer. So we have this macro already, but it is not visible because as we pass the parameters, let us see. We need to pass it as row number, right? The first macro we are already calling, and inside of these parameters, we can pass in. So I'll pass it as 4. Macro parameters. Not allow object to be issued. Type of an array. Let us do one thing. And let us see our variable. Okay. So what we can do is to pass number as an object. G#. Let us pass the 4 in the double quotes and see. Book available in the macro, all macros may be disabled. This is already enabled. Options, see, to run the macros, right, from the trust center settings, macro settings, enable VBA macros. VBA project. We need to enable all these in order to access your Excel through VBA or macros. Click on OK.
I think you are forget to enable the macros. Maybe it's slightly getting.
Yeah, yeah. Let us run this now. I'm not sure, like, because of that, we are facing an issue. There is something like specific to this macro. So the reason is, if we open this macro file, right? If we go to the developer and if we click on this macros, we could not able to see it. And if we go to the VBA, we could able to see, right? So there is something wrong happened with this specific module one. There is something happened with this particular macro. Let us do one thing. Take this as a string. Let us do one thing. Let us not take much pain here. Let's take something from here. So now we could able to pass the parameters. Let me see the difference of what we developed and what we copied. Developer Visual Basic. So by value as number. Sure. Let's see. So now this is working for us and this is not working. Let us do one thing. Let us run this now. Now it has got executed. Here. So probably this is the reason. Under the trust center settings, macro settings, we need to enable the VBA macros, enable Excel 4.0 macros, trust access to the VBA project object model. So these three we need to enable in order for our UiPath to execute your macros and the VBA. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. And here, right, like see, it went till 3, and we can change that number from here itself. So in case if you want to pass any variable values, we can pass it directly. But this macros, right? Even this macro files will help you to interact with the other different Excel files placed in different locations as well. But I don't want to manage all my macros. Okay, I don't want to manage these macros. And what I want to do is, I have this macro code, okay, and I want to use this onto a different Excel, which is, I can say, this file. I want to apply this macro on this file. Like giving this file path and modifying all the code and referring to this file and sheet and all these things, right? It requires a lot of VBA programming knowledge for us to develop that such a macro. So alternatively, what we can do is, we can just right click here, new text document. You can just directly copy this here. Let me delete it. It's and now what I want to do is, I'll use a record macro. Okay, I'll select this and stop the record macro. Go to the macros. I'll go to edit. See here, sheets and data sheet dot select. So I got the code for selecting the sheet. I'll write it here, which means I'm selecting the sheet. See, whatever the actions I want to perform, I'll just modify that, record that, and I'll just get that code line here. Now it will select the sheet and then it will perform these operations. Let us see whether we can achieve that on a different file, not on this macro file, on this XLSX file. Okay. So for that, what we will do is, we'll select this file, XLSX, and instead of execute macro, we'll use VBA, invoke VBA. And here, file name, we can just we need to give the this method name, first macro. I can say this is first VBA. Here we need to select the file path where we have the VBA code. It can be in the text file, it can be under VBS extension. It is up to us. And in the properties, here is the entry parameters. We can pass that number. We want to go for 4 instead of 5. Run the flow. And let us come back here. Open this. It is not coming. Go here. Didn't work on this. Let us see. It is not working. Let us try to debug it. Let's do one thing. We'll come here, go to the developer, click on record macro. Okay, equal to recording macros, edit. First, let us go in this way. Having the parameters, let us try to execute and we'll see. Don't save. Let us open this sheet. We don't have any data here. And let us run this flow. And let us open the file now. Selecting, but it is not updating the formula. So probably the reason is VBA is not accepting this kind of concatenation. Comma B2, let us put in this way. Codes we should not get because it will be like this, right? Should be in this, but we are getting a single quote here in between, so we should not get it. So let us understand the code, whatever we have in behind. So we have a double quotes here. We don't want to have. This should be correct. Why we are getting this single? So for that, what we can do? How to write formula in Excel to VBA. -5. So it is accepting this under the same file. So it should be in the similar way then. But why we are not getting it? One thing, put a message box in between and we will see. VBA message box. Just need to write MSG box. Click on close. Close these things. On the file. Get all this. Save. run file. Now we are getting it. Click OK. We got all the data, and now we want to pass the variable, and we want to leverage that variable argument. This last one instead of 5. Run the file. So we already have the data, right? Let me delete that data. The 4 rows. So see, guys, um, we can even tune this to number of records and as well. So, but the thing is, like, whatever the VB or macro, generally I developed like as part of UiPath, right? Everything is like with the help of recordings and step by step checking in the Google. Without that, I'm not writing anything of my own. Not only me, almost majority of the RPA developers, because it is very hard for everyone to know each and every technology. So what generally they'll ask the question is, no, whatever I have seen is like, do you know macros? How to work with macros? So generally what I answer, I worked on executing macros and VBA for some manipulations on Excel. How I generally develop macros is I will leverage the record macro option in under developer tab, and then I will modify macro as per the requirement by passing the parameters where required. So I used to answer in this, because no one will ask you questions on this VB. They'll ask you questions, simple questions like, did you work with macros? And the majority of the things what we should know is execution of macro and invoke VBA with parameters. Okay.
So Path, in case of macro, basically we should record the macro, right? Apart from other use case, I think we can develop the workflow, right? Based on the use case requirement.
Yes, yes. See, like, because the reason I'll tell you guys. So these are the numbers, but they're stored as a text values. It is very hard for us to convert this number to the normal number when we are reading the table and all, like especially in terms of date formats, right? We are going to face the issues. So let me tell you one thing. Let us take the date format only. I keep 19 only. But this is the fourth one. If I go to the filters, here I'm getting in this way, right? Cancel. And let us do one thing here. 19052023. It is under May. We have 192021. This filtering effect is there, right? Let me just do it in this way. I'm getting the same value. Here date incremental is there. And if I click on this filter, it is on the months and dates. But here it is like this. Let us suppose if you have year by year, right? Then let us say it is 2019 and 2020, 2021, 2022. I can easily filter my date, like based on years. So this grouping can be possible, right? Because it is in proper date format. But here, if you see, right, this is not in the date format. That's why I could not able to have a filter. Though looks like it is in the format, but the problem here is it is like we added this column, so that will be considered as a text, not as a date. So this I need to convert to the date. So for that, right click, format cell, date. Click on OK. It's not getting converted. So we need to have in case if I'm removing it, some system generator will be there. Let me see. Some system generator will be there. In that scenarios, you will be facing the issue. At that time, we just need to change the format. Nothing else. For now, let us go with the numbers. My requirement is this. I want to convert to the numbers. Okay. So what I will do is I'll go to the developer, record macro, format cell, number. Okay. Number store as it is, convert to number. So go to the macro, edit. So I'm not getting the correct example. We will get this. I'll show you this how we can leverage this macros, right, for the conversion types and all when we are dealing with the databases. Because when you read the date and time, like date from the database, right, in that scenarios we are facing the issues. I have seen that personally in my experience, and we can use that. Okay, I'll show that. But the biggest thing is like what you need to focus in terms of macro and VBA. How to develop macros or VBA for macro option from developer tab. This is on point. How to execute macro with and without parameters. How to invoke VBA with and without parameters. So these three things which we need to be clear regarding the macro. Got it, guys? Questions on this? So if you see, right, everything, whatever I have done in terms of even a simple macro is like through the Google search.
I think working on macro is not a cup of tea for everyone.
Sorry, Akash, you are saying something?
I think working on macro is not a cup of tea for everyone.
It's not so easy, man. It is like, see, it's the ocean. Because all the automations, like where we have the processes, right? Almost all the business users used to implement their automations using macros only. Because all the data used to have in Excel, right? So all the
Hmm.
operations you need to perform is used to be done through the macros. And even generation of the PDFs from your Excel, even this can be done through the macros. So all these things will happen. Guys, there or no?
Yeah, Path, I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we need to start with the data table. See, did you guys anyone tried of any other Excel activities? Because we have a lot of Excel activities, right? We covered only append range, write range, autofill, write cell, read range. Only these we covered. So did you tried any other Excel activities?
I'll try today because yesterday I didn't see that
Fine.
recording. I'll try today.
Yeah, yeah. So see, guys, see, all these whatever the other activities other than what we discussed, right, is not that much important as part of your even interview or even for your process automations also. But in case if required, right, you can just check it out and you can just see. I explained you, right, like if you just uh, hover your mouse cursor, then it will give you what actually it is trying to do. So based on that, you can just try it out and you can work on it. In case if I explain you each and every activity, then in case if you come across any new activity, right, then it will be hard for you to take or try it out. So um, try the other activities and let me know what issues you are facing from there, so that we can discuss the issues, so that like you'll be on a right path. Got it, guys? And we have CSV activities. And for CSV, right, we have only three activities: read CSV, write CSV, append to CSV. All these three are similar to read range, write range, and append range. Nothing else. Because if you read CSV, you'll get into the output. But here, the additional you have is delimiter will change. Because it is CSV is nothing but, let us have this. Comma separated values, nothing but name, location. Okay. So in this way, you'll be having values, and you're saying that comma is your delimiter to separate your column and the column values. Okay. But there will be a possibility that not only comma, you can have semicolon, you can have caret or pipe or a tab. Because let us suppose you have your first name and last name with the comma separated. In that case, I cannot consider comma as a delimiter. In that case, I can have pipe as a delimiter, right? So this is possible. So the application which is sending it out the data into the CSV files may have a pipe as a delimiter or comma as a delimiter. But majority of the cases, comma will be your delimiter. And in case if you have data in this way, right, then it will throw an error that invalid delimiter or something. So you just need to change your delimiter to pipe, so that you'll get into the data table. Go to the right range. So we will be providing the data table here, and inside the properties here also you need to provide the delimiter in case if you are passing, see, based on the file target file, in case if something is already existing, right, then you need to provide, or else by default it will be comma, and append to CSV. Append to CSV will be similar to the append range in Excel. So in case if you already have a data, and it will append the data into next to the available rows. So you can have this delimiter. So this is the additional thing which you are going to get alongside of your read range, write range, and append range. So for CSV, we have only 3 activities. Write to CSV, read CSV, append CSV. So only we will be having these 3, and these are similar to write range, read range, append range. So these are the 3 activities we will have for the CSV. Okay. So guys, so I'll continue the class from Monday. Second, guys, just give me a moment. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
sir.
We can
Yeah.
hear you.
So we'll continue the class from data tables. Like we will cover almost all the scenario based for the data tables. We have a lot of scenario based for the data table and Excel also. And let me know, guys, like if you guys are a bit free on Sunday, we can have a session on Sunday.
I think
Yes,
we
we
have
can.
a long weekend. I think we can join